Hi guys, former ERGer and current Northern Ireland Secretary of State Chris Heaton-Harris, who is, as you can expect, standing down at the next election, tied himself up in some mental knots when he was asked about how well Brexit has gone. So the Tory walked into a trap of his own making by claiming that things can improve between the UK and the EU. So much for getting Brexit done. Then he admitted that it was a process, to which he had it explained to him that a future Labour government could continue that process, which caused Chris to have a mini meltdown. Have a listen to this.
Do you think Brexit is working perfectly at the moment?
I think Brexit is working well for our country
at
the moment.
Is it working as well as it could?
Everything can work better.
Well, doesn't that show that there perhaps is scope for different agreements with the EU? Certainly many of our exporters think that, and importers.
I think when we went through the Windsor Framework, which I helped to negotiate with the Prime Minister, we started to work out, with the European Union, better ways of doing business. Having left the, it's a process. This isn't a straightforward.
Well, exactly.
Yes, no
I think that's probably exactly what the Labour Party would say. That there's an ongoing process of thinking about ways that our relationship with the EU could be streamlined.
Who's around the negotiating table? If you've got Keir Starmer, who's always wanted free movement, I can guarantee to you one thing that's going to be on the table will be free movement.
He says he doesn't want free movement now.
But Michel Barnier says he does. And does that mean Keir Starmer's changed his mind again?
Okay. Have you ever changed your mind about anything? Has your party ever changed its mind about anything?
I'm quite sure I've changed my mind about all sorts of things.
So why is it okay for you to change your mind and not for people in the Labour Party to change their mind?
Because it's a fundamental point of principle where Keir Starmer needs to be believed whether he will go for free movement, and he will.
How about HS2, infrastructure of the future?
Yes.
It's not going to happen as planned, is it?
No, because the circumstances have changed. And so the policy changed, and that's been a completely legitimate point, which is now, I think, agreed by Labour as well, that we've made the right choice there for money to be invested into roads, because that's people's priority.
Okay. Again, circumstances change, people change their mind. It's either an acceptable thing in politics for everyone, or it's unacceptable. I think you're suggesting it's acceptable for you, not acceptable for others.
I think I might humbly suggest that in future interviews, when you're asking me this question and I've changed my mind and I'm being criticised for changing my mind because of circumstances, I'll remind you that politicians are therefore allowed to.
But you're not giving that credit to the Labour Party, are you?
No, because I will give it to individuals who actually believe that. But to be quite frank, I do not believe Keir Starmer's changed his mind on this subject.
What a pathetic charlatan. And he says things can get better between the UK and the EU. But why wouldn't he support improving that relationship under a Labour government? Anyway, Harris backed Boris Johnson to get Brexit done, but we know that that's a lie, because Brexit will never be done, bar rejoining the European Union. And I've said this before, Brexit will be ultimately done when the UK rejoins, because Brexit will no longer be an issue. Until that happens, Brexit will still be an issue. And this is unfortunately the lie that Boris Johnson and the Brexiteers sold people in 2019 that helped them win a majority. We'll get Brexit off the table. We'll stop talking about Brexit. Vote for us. Get Brexit done. And of course, it was a massive lie. Only Tory MPs, it seems here, can change their minds, perhaps like Liz Truss on Brexit. But also Labour can't change their minds even if the situation changes. This is pure desperation from Chris Heaton-Harris. He knows that this is an absolute mess, with the exception of Northern Ireland, but he can't admit it. But he can't say that it would be a success, because reality is the opposite of that. He can't say, well, it has worked, because businesses are saying, well, we can't import or export like before. There's massive amounts of paperwork and massive amounts of cost. Now, Labour will try and fix some of these problems, but it will not be easy. But I hope that some Brexiteers like Chris Heaton-Harris will cease to be called up for interviews after all of this, as they have nothing of value to add. All he has is criticising the Labour Party for changing their position. Keir Starmer, and I'm no fan of Keir Starmer or friend of Keir Starmer, but he has said that the situation changed. He wanted to maintain freedom of movement when the UK was still a member of the European Union, before Brexit happened, and the situation has changed. However, the media love platforming people like Chris Heaton-Harris, and I don't think Brexiteers are going to go away anytime soon. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.